Manchester United go on to win the FA Cup. For more, let's go to our commentary team to have more reflections on this. Jim Beglin and John Champion.
Well, those celebrations, Dan, are still going on behind us. The Manchester United players lingering in front of their supporters in the Wembley sunshine. I think a few of them are pinching themselves, aren't they? Because if you'd asked them 5 hours ago what was likely to happen today, a few of them are a bit fearful.
I mean, that's the theme. I think everybody is stunned. I think the City fans are stunned into the fact that they didn't perform properly, and I think the United fans are stunned to produce that against the champions.
Will he walk away thinking he's been harshly treated, or is that actually a fair reflection of 2 years in charge?
Well, I think he will. I think in some of his interviews towards the end of the season, it was almost as if he was pleading, sending messages to the board, please don't sack me, you know, I want to stay. I think he goes out on a high now. If he does leave, of course he does, because he said it before the kick-off that, you know, 2 trophies in 2 seasons. Not too bad. He'll take it. And to win a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, yeah, he can go out with his head held high. But look, we can't forget either that for much of this season, it's been really hard watching Manchester United. They've been poor. They really have, and he's admitted it himself on many an occasion. But this is just a lovely little treat to end the harsh campaign.
Van Gaal alongside Ten Hag, deja vu, front page of a sport newspaper. Mark, any chance they'll change their mind after today?
I think it's unlikely. I was there that day that Louis Van Gaal, everybody knew that he was going to get sacked, and he came in after the game and put the FA Cup on the desk in the press conference as if almost like a riposte to the board saying, there you go, he sacked me, but I've won the FA Cup. So with Ten Hag, I think what will happen is, I think there was a few reports yesterday suggesting he was going to go after the cup final. I think they were a bit hasty. I think we've known for a while that he's probably going to go. I think it'll happen on a quiet day next week or the week after, when United have gone through this kind of formality of an end-of-season review. It gives them a bit of time to put a bit of space between this and make sure it's not an emotional decision. Emotional in the sense that keeping him on the back of winning the FA Cup. Because, managers are appointed to win trophies, and he's done that. You can't knock that, but usually when you win a trophy, when Sir Alex Ferguson won the first FA Cup, it was the start of something. You felt it was the start of something. You can't really say that about this United team under Ten Hag. Fair credit for winning the cup, but the team is an unpredictable mess at times, and that is as much down to him as anybody else. Now, do you give him the time next season to change things? Well, if you've seen enough this season to suggest that tactically you don't think he's up to it and his signings haven't been great, then why give him another year? Why put yourself back another 12 months by just giving him the chance because he's won the FA Cup? I don't think they're going to do that. I think, with not any use have come in and they've changed the CEO, they've changed the technical director, they're bringing a director of football in, they're changing all the key positions. It makes no sense for them to, at the end of the day, having brought all these new people in, to stick with a guy that's the old regime's manager when there are probably better coaches out there.
Nedum, obviously he's highlighted injuries a lot in the last few weeks about the struggles that United have had this season. Could he use today as an example? Say, look, I've got Martinez and I've got Varane as my first choice centre-backs. They're playing today, and look at the difference they made against the league champions.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something in his mind is a justification for the fact that he should deserve longer. But in reality, I think sometimes we need to address the fact that some managers, some coaching methods and stuff lead to players being out for possibly longer than, say, other places. It's not to say 100% that's the case, but if you have lots of injuries at the start of the season, what's it in response to? Is it the training load? Is it, say, the way you want them to play in games? Or is it just a freak accident after a freak accident? I don't really lean into that. But I think once he had those players out, we saw a better version of them. But I think as well this season, from what I'm seeing, we see United side that perform better when they're the underdog. But unfortunately, that isn't something that happens on a week-to-week basis. The style of play they had today and the way they played wouldn't be the same as, say, if they were playing against a Bournemouth or a side that plays the way that Man City does. But I think the injuries, yes, they do matter. I think he's managed to keep just about enough people available to stay afloat as such. But I would even say they have finished 8th and they had a ton of injuries. But I still think he could have potentially gotten more out of some of those players based on setup, belief, training, whatever, that would have maybe not had them finish with the worst, finish in Premier League history.
Ibiza vibes, isn't it, at Wembley?
The true evaluation of Manchester United is the
31, isn't it?
38 games in the league.
Yeah.
That's the true evaluation. You can't judge, and all this about being judged on winning trophies. I suppose in some sense there is a little bit of that, but I'm thinking more Premier League, and when you're adding trophies to contending for the Premier League, that's a different picture. Borussia Dortmund are in the Champions League final. shows you what cup competitions can do. Cardiff City were a whisker from being in this final today. I beg your pardon. Coventry City were a whisker away, and they're a mid-table championship side. So these knockout competitions are difficult to judge, and the evaluation of United from me and pretty much everybody on this show has been they just haven't been good enough in the league. And the big picture is that he's got the odd tune out of this team, and he's got a big one today, but he hasn't gotten enough, and I think he's lost the faith of the new investors to say, if we're going to go again, and we need to spend, if we can spend with profit and sustainability, and we can find a way around it, sell some of these players and buy some better quality, do we trust you to be the man? And I think there's a clear thought process, not just within Old Trafford, but I think a lot of people outside it, that he has not done enough this year to convince anybody that he's going to be the man to take United forward.
If we were just talking about the 38 games and the 8th place finish, maybe Ten Hag has some kind of an argument to make for himself and for his tenure. But when you look at United's goal difference, when you look at the number of goals they've conceded, the number of chances they've conceded to far lesser opposition, then all of a sudden that conversation doesn't hold as much water.
Nathan, let's switch focus to Manchester City. We talked about Carl Walker's interview this week and about how there was less intensity around this final compared to last year because it was all about completing the treble. Did that contribute to the complacency and the poor form that we saw from the majority of the players today?
Did he say intensity or pressure?
Well, pressure.
What was it, Dan?
Yeah, no, you can go pressure. You can definitely correct me.
Yeah, I think maybe it contributed in some ways, yes, but in reality, the way that I see it, I don't think they were complacent today. I think they had an off day. I think this is a side that just don't have many off days at all. I think United were able to capitalise upon that and make it very, very difficult for them. I think even City, if they were playing to their absolute best, I think the way that United were playing would have offered them trouble, would have offered them problems. But I don't think it's a sense of complacency as such, because as that game was developing, you could still see the drive, the passion and the desire. But some people were having an off day. I don't think it was their intent. I think it was just going to be an easy game, something to roll over. Because for me, a team that's successful year in, year out, whether it's City, Liverpool, whomever, they don't get to that position by being complacent, not least of all in the biggest games. And they had a bad day at the worst possible time, but credit goes to United because they were able to capitalise.
Let's hear from the aforementioned Carl Walker now, shall we? We'll be hearing from him in a moment. Okay, right. I've often felt the opinion this season that, and maybe somebody will roll out some stats and defy my opinion. I don't particularly care. Looking at them and watching them, and I've said this before, I've never felt that they were as solid at the back as they were last year. I felt they got the balance, and yes, they've won the Premier League and it was a great title race, and they went on a great run in the second half of the season, but I never felt this year. I always felt this year they were gettable at the back. And I know there was a lot of changes, and there was more changes today, but last year when they were super successful, I felt they had the whole balance between the team, how much they attacked, how much they left themselves open, how much it was just so. And we saw this today. Those couple of balls over the top in the first half, Shaq, that caused the goals and the problems were just too easy.